this presentation, I will discuss a sociolinguistic research article titled Lexical Tonal Effects in Code Switching, a comparative study of Cantonese, Mandarin, and Vietnamese, switching with English, published in the International Journal of Bilingualism. This presentation is part of my final assessment for the sociolinguistic course. So, for the first background, code switching is a very common phenomenon in bilingual and multilingual communities. It happens when speakers switch between two or more languages in conversation. Most previous research has looked at code switching from the perspective of grammar, discourse, or social identity. However, this study is different. It focuses on phonology, specifically lexical tone, and how it influences the way speakers code switch between tonal languages and English. For the research purpose, the researchers want to know whether tone systems, which are an important part of Cantonese, Mandarin, and Vietnamese, have any effect on how speakers insert English words into their native speech. This is important because English is a non-tonal language, while these three languages use pitch to distinguish word meanings. So, the study investigates whether tone affects where, when, and how code switching happens. Methodology. To find the answer, the researchers used a corpus-based approach. They collected natural conversations from bilingual speakers of Cantonese English, Mandarin English, and Vietnamese English. They analyzed hundreds of instances of code switching, focusing on the phonetic and prosodic details. They used tools like pitch tracking and spectrograms and applied statistical analysis to find patterns related to tone and switching behavior. Findings: Cantonese. For Cantonese speakers, the researchers found that English words were more likely to be inserted in positions where there was no tonal conflict. In other words, they avoided code switching in places where the tone of their native language would clash with the rhythm or stress pattern of the English word. This shows that even during spontaneous speech, speakers are sensitive to tonal structure. Findings: Mandarin. In contrast, Mandarin speakers show smoother integration of English words. This is probably because Mandarin has a system called tone sandhi, where tones change automatically depending on the context. This flexible tone system seems to help Mandarin speakers switch languages with less phonological disruption. Findings: Vietnamese. These results were quite different for Vietnamese speakers. Their code switching was often disfluent. There were more pauses, hesitations, and stress mismatches. This suggests that Vietnamese speakers experience more interference from the tonal structure when inserting English words. The switching sounds less natural, probably because the Vietnamese tone system is more fixed and less compatible with English stress patterns. For the discussion, the study has several strengths. First, it connects phonology with sociolinguistics, an area that is often overlooked in code switching studies. Second, the comparative approach across three tonal languages adds depth and clarity. However, there are also limitations. The participants were mostly urban and educated, so the findings may not apply to speakers in rural areas or those with less exposure to English. The study also focused on formal speech, so informal or emotional language use is not explored. For future research, it will be interesting to study other tonal languages such as Thai or Burmese, or to examine how code switching appears in social media, classrooms, or daily life. Interpretation and significance. These findings are important because they show that code switching is not only influenced by social or grammatical factors, but also by the phonological structure of the languages involved. In this case, lexical tone plays a key role in shaping how and when bilinguals switch between languages. This gives us a new way of understanding language variation, not just based on who the speaker is or what they're talking about, but also based on how the languages work at sound level. Relevance to sociolinguistics. This research adds to the field of sociolinguistics by connecting it with phonology. It shows how social language behavior is influenced by structural features like tone. This is especially relevant for countries like Indonesia or Malaysia, where people often speak both a tonal and a non-tonal language. It also has practical implications for teaching bilingual students and designing speech technologies like AI and machine translation. And the next is limitations and future research. Of course, the study has some limitations. The speakers in the study were all urban, educated, and mostly fluent in English. So, the results might be different for rural speakers, older people, or heritage speakers in diaspora communities. Future research could explore more languages, younger speakers, or even how code switching appears in social media or informal conversations. And the last is conclusion. In conclusion, the article by Benjamin Putterbaugh gives us a fresh and important insight. Tone matters in code switching. It's not just social context or grammar that drive language switching. Phonological structure plays a major role too. The study contributes to sociolinguistics by showing that language variation is shaped both by social force and internal linguistic systems. It's a valuable reminder that sound, structure, and speech all interact in complex ways. So, thank you so much for listening to my presentation. I hope this has helped you understand how tone systems affect code switching in multilingual communities. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to discuss them. Thank you.